Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck. I'm a communications and parenting expert, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to deal with a defiant child. Being the previous foster parent of many troubled teens and being a mother of 4, as well as working with families all over the world to improve their parenting, if there's one thing I understand, it's defiance, what it looks like and how to help it. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things you can do to help conquer defiance. The first thing that's so important in conquering defiance is recognizing who each other is in the family. So who's the leader, who's the learner? That's super important, which means that you need to understand your family roles. So in order to maintain parental authority, usually there needs to be some deliberate conversation about family roles. This doesn't mean what a person does for their chores or what their responsibilities necessarily are, but who each person is. Does the child understand that they are a learner and that you are a teacher? That's vitally important. In fact, it has been proven that families who maintain good parental authority and an understanding of the roles usually have less defiant children. Now, this doesn't mean the children are all passive. Anything but. In fact, when parental authority is maintained, then your strong-willed child just is able to understand where their limits are. They're able to understand who they are and where they're headed instead of feeling like home is a battle zone. So let's understand the defiant child. The defiant child wants to be understood. They want you to know what it is that they're thinking. So they are constantly telling you things. Now, if they have true oppositional defiant disorder, then it could just be that they just have to be right, which means they have to be the opposite of you and everybody else. But most defiant children just are defiant sometimes because they feel like they see something in a different way, perhaps, and they have a hard time expressing themselves. So what do they need? They need the means of expressing themselves. That brings us to number 2. The second thing that you need to help the defiant child is you need to teach them the proper skills. So in our family, we teach 4 basic skills for success. In fact, these are 4 basic skills of self-government. Self-government is when a person learns how to control themselves. They make deliberate decisions for their future and make plans for where they're headed. The 4 skills of self-government that take care of 99.9% of all bad behaviors are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. If a person learns all 4 of these 4 basic skills and the skill sets that are attached to them, then they can identify any of their problem behaviors and make a correction in a very quick and effective manner toward doing things the right way. So how do you help your children learn these skills? It's really important that you pre-teach the skills ahead of time before they're ever going to be needing these skills. You need to pull them aside and teach the skills. In fact, I have a helpful way to teach children these skills, especially if the children are like 12 and under. On my website, teachingselfgovernment.com, where my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course is, I also have other resources that can help with the teaching. These children's books are a great resource to teach the 4 basic skills. Lots of times parents will read these books with their children, the children will practice the skills, and then they'll have a point of reference that reinforces the using of these skills as the family decides to now praise the skills when they're used correctly and correct them when they're not. This brings me to tip number 3, which is the consistent correction. It's really important that a child gets feedback every time they do something well and every time they need improvement. This teaches them cause and effect. A person can't learn self-government unless they understand cause and effect. So we are doing our children a favor by correcting them and by praising them so that they can understand how their behavior is helping them become the person that they hope to become. So let's talk about the correction. There are certain steps that make a really great correction. When I correct my children, I always start with a description. When When you describe something that's happening instead of reacting to a situation, then you set yourself up to have calmness, and you let them know that you are not reacting, you are not power struggling with them, you're not trying to control them. Instead, you're just describing a truth, something that everybody can see. This type of description lays the foundation for your defiant child to start to see the truth instead of get in the mode of pushing back. The next step is to give them a rationale. The rationales that I choose are usually reasons that would matter to them, such as when you choose not to follow instructions, that takes a little bit more of your time, or when you choose not to accept a no answer and not drop the subject about it, then you are actually picking to have a bad mood for a good portion of the day, and that's no fun. And then I go on to what they should have done. So what should they have done? They should have, if they were going to accept a no answer, look at the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, and then drop the subject. In my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course on my website and in this book, Parenting a House United, I go into more detail about how to correct problems. In fact, correcting the negative behaviors is only one of the 5 teaching styles that I teach in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course. So make sure that you're also utilizing other methods of teaching the children besides just correction. But let's finish those correction steps now. So after we describe what they should have done, then we explain what it is that they've earned. Yes, earned. So if they are learning self-government, then what that means is that they are earning positive and negative consequences. So have they earned an extra chore as a negative consequence? Then I'm going to tell them, because you chose not to accept a no answer, you have earned an extra chore. That way they know, okay, this is me accepting my consequence now. Because remember, one of the skills of learning self-government, one of those 4 basic skills, is accepting a consequence. If a person doesn't get the opportunity to accept their consequence, they can't learn self-government. So after they accept their consequence, which is a 6-step process that they know, then we have a practice session. So this practice session is a time where we practice doing things the right way. A person has to have more experience doing things the right way than the wrong way in order to not repeat those wrong behaviors. When a child is defiant and they are wanting just to make their point heard all of the time, or they're trying to force their way, what they're really doing is they're trying to exert power in some way that they feel like will be effective for them. Why not teach them the appropriate behavior that they can use to have power? In fact, they will feel more empowered when they use a skill and they end up getting what they want. That's the beauty with that disagree appropriately skill. Everyone stays happy and understood at the same time. So usually your defiant child is really going to benefit from using the disagree appropriately skill that I talked about earlier, but I will tell you something about a defiant child. They may say they don't want to use it. I don't want to say that. I don't want to disagree appropriately because they're defiant, right? All the more reason you have to expect that they do and then correct them if they don't. Consistent correction is important. Many defiant children who maintain their defiance for long periods of time, like years, are often not corrected consistently enough. Parents will put up with it. They'll allow the talking back. They'll allow the attitude problem. They'll allow the child to not have a calm face, voice, and body. And then the child maintains that defiance to some degree or another throughout their entire learning years in your home. So do them a favor. Be merciful. Consistently correct them. It'll make a huge difference. I could share so many more things about dealing with defiant children. In fact, I want to give you a class. There's a class that I've done here on the YouTube channel called The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success. And I think you'll find a lot of benefit by taking that class and understanding how you can help yourself and your children not fall into these emotional traps and into these power struggles on such a regular basis. There are things we can do, and sometimes they're more simple than we might imagine. So click on the link to The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success, and I'll see you there.